And then we'll start off, we'll fire away with Blake starting it.
What's up, Coach?
Awesome.
So I saw that you do strength and conditioning for cheer. Am I correct?
Yes.
I'm currently helping out with cheer, and I just kind of wanted to ask some questions about that, and I have two other questions after that. But do you pilot them? They do so much during practice. Do you jump them or any of that?
I actually do. So we've worked out a really good system to where they're actually not practicing on the days that they're lifting. And we have a full day off. They have a full day off on Fridays. And so we're able to lift on Mondays. They practice Sunday nights, lift Wednesday, practice Tuesday night. Sorry, I said that wrong. Monday, then practice Tuesday, lift Wednesday, practice Thursday, off Friday. And so we're able to give them the opportunity to be able to not have jumping, running, sprinting. We actually do a little bit of Olympic lifting as well with my cheer athletes on those days. And then the practice day is the long, like high rep day. Now, does that mean I'm jumping them for hundreds and hundreds of reps? No. But we are doing a power section as part of our lift. So for that, it's like I warm them up really good. So of that hour, we stretch and dynamic warm up for 15 minutes. So we're doing a full warm up. It's not a come in, do a little twist, a little kicks, and like get into the lift. We're actually warming up because they're not spending a lot of time doing that. I'll spend 10 to 15 minutes, actually 5 to 10 minutes of like a power section, whether that's for me, we found through force plate testing that most of them don't know how to land efficiently. And so most of them on a tagged, like eccentric landing. So we'll do depth drops to vertical jumps, to broad jumps, to lateral jumps, different things like that. And so we'll do those types of jumps with them. And then we'll go into a little bit of Olympic lifting. Most of my Olympic variations are going to be more med ball throws versus Olympic lifting completely. Right now, we're doing more clean pulls, hang clean pulls, clean pulls from the floor, supersetted with some like med balls and things like that. In the spring, when they don't have their competition practices as much, we're actually doing more Olympic lifting. So the majority of my practice is more or lift is more Olympic lifting focused. So kind of on those lines, like we do jump, but it's very limited, very controlled.
And if you had them, because we have them post practice, they practice. I come in and the lights are on in the stadium and they're practicing. I want to say they get there at 5:30, and then they come to us at 7. So they're already fatigued from having to wake up, and they've been practicing for quite a while. Would you minimize the Olympic lifts, or maybe just use the medicine balls, or how would that look different?
To me, if I was taking them right after practice, I'd probably do more pulls than more like jumping, those types of things, and limit it to like ground contact. To me, it would be very short, very sweet. It sounds to me right after practice, it would be more just basic strength, probably a lot of unilateral work, just because they're probably fatigued. Like I know our team's fatigued after practice. I'm assuming that y'all's team is as well. And for me, it'd be more unilateral, just so you're not having to load as much.
That's a good point. Yeah, they don't always come in with a ton of energy that early post practice.
Right, and so they're practicing at 5:30 a.m.
Yes.
And then going to lift.
Yes.
So I have my team, they practice at night, and then I get them at 6 a.m., 7:30, 8:30. So we have multiple groups. So we have about 60 cheer athletes. We have two full teams. We have a co-ed full team and an all-girl full team.
60. Well, we definitely don't, we don't have that many. That's a large group.
No, it is a very large group, and you add dance on top of that, and it's a full day.
Wow. Sorry, Blake, I sidetracked you. I was curious.
That's what the question I was going to ask. That was the follow-up. Could you just give me kind of a week worth of workouts? Like, say this week, what are you doing in the weight room? What are you giving them? Just kind of what your prescription was.
Okay, so this week's a bad idea because they're off this week.
Okay.
We're technically on fall break this week. So Monday was a Halloween lift, and they came in costumes, and we bench press. We did a 3-rep bench press max, prepping for our last 4 weeks into November. And then we had a trick or treat day where I had a big basket, and we had candy, and it could be burpees. It could be planks. It could be candy. You never know.
Right.
So that was what we did. And then the rest of the week, they're actually had off to yesterday, and they're starting their choreography for their national competition stuff this weekend. But a typical week, lifts are Mondays and Wednesdays. We lift for an hour exactly. I use a very loose version of conjugate method. So like I have something fast, something max effort, something repetitive on every single day, depending on what that is. So I always have I usually have a max effort lower body and then a max effort bench press day. My squats are usually Monday and my bench press is usually Wednesday. And then I'll have a dynamic effort with either typically on Mondays is my dynamic effort upper body. We're doing more landmine work, 3s, 2s, 1s, very quick. And then on the Wednesday lift, we're doing more of that's usually my higher, heavier Olympic lift 2 day, just because they tumble on Tuesdays. And so I try not to squat max them and heavy plyo them before they have their tumbling on Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays, we'll do a little bit of complementary plyo day. For me, it's basic fitness, basic strength work. An athlete is an athlete for me. So like my philosophy is across the board, all athletes need to be strong. They all need to be fast, and they all need to have some type of stamina depending on what sport they're playing. And if we have a squat day on Monday, my Wednesday would be a unilateral day, and kind of like that. So I kind of base it off of that, where it's opposite days. My rep schemes go from, they have a summer training packet that they have to do over summer. Obviously, they're not an NCAA regulated sport, so they send in all kinds of different things to me over the summer. And then I meet with them in June, I meet with them in July, and I meet with them again. They report 2 weeks before school starts. And so we're getting them throughout the summer. So I'm able to build a really good foundation over the summer with them. And we'll do like a basic 10s, 8s, 6s over the summer. And then I'll go start 6s, 5s, 4, 3, 2s, and 1s leading up into November. So that's kind of like I said, it's kind of conjugate, but it's kind of like my version of what I've kind of created over the years, just that would have worked for my athletes. Did that help? Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you test them? I know you mentioned a 3-rep bench press, and you mentioned force plates as well. What else do you measure?
So we do force plate testing every 4 weeks. And so I do a force plate test every 4 weeks. We do a Nordboard hamstring test every 4 weeks. And then we'll do rep maxes throughout the semester, just to kind of give me an idea of where they are strength-wise, especially those incoming freshmen. And then the week before Thanksgiving will be our big max out week, because they're gone the whole week of Thanksgiving. Well, not gone, because they still have football and basketball and things like that, but they're off from school, off from lifts. And then we'll start back over into like more competition prep. So their in season would kind of start in December, going up to their national competition, which is in the middle of January.
Are you a 1 RM or are you always multiple?
No, the last week we'll do a 1 RM.
And then that's on Olympic full clean as well?
No, only squat and bench.
Okay.
Yep. And then we'll also do like depending on where this athlete is, my male athletes, we usually do like a strict pull up just to see where they're at, like rep wise, like a rep max of that. Just how many reps can you rep out? My female athletes, typically I go to like a reverse pull-up, so like a horizontal pull-up for those, but I have some athletes that actually do the full pull-ups. I just don't want them using the bands, and most of my bases can't do full pull-ups, and so we try to make it even for the female athletes.
My wheels are turning now. So on the force plate, do you like reactive strength index? Is that, I would think, that
Yes.
strength related or for cheer?
It's yes, it's more power. So we look at their power numbers and then just straight across, but then we also look at their unilateral. We're mainly looking for injury. So like the unilateral component, so right versus left, but then also how fast they can get off the force plate. And then, like I said, most of them are really efficient in jumping, but they're not efficient in the landing portion because they've always been taught to and they've always typically tumbled on mats or springboards or things like that. And so they're not landing efficiently. From those numbers, I'm not really looking at performance numbers necessarily. I'm more looking at what do we need to work on to make them able to perform on mat in January and not end up with like those high. The athletes coming in, typically we try, very similar to gymnastics, sorry, just rambling about it, is more Achilles. And so Achilles pain, knees hit just from where they're landing on those mats and the high risk of those landings. And so we're trying to decrease that risk by using that force plate. And so we're kind of taking those numbers and tagging them. So we're like, if there's one athlete that is slow off, typically that's not slow off, but your more efficient athletes, the ones that are really explosive, typically take a little bit longer to get off the ground. And so we're trying to work on speeding that up, but then we can tag those for like more pogo or resisted pogo, a little bit more jumps. And then we can tag them as eccentric, so deficient in like landing, and they'll be tagged and they'll have their training plan, but they'll also have tags that they're working on. The Nord board, we take it just to make sure that they're not unilateral. So like they're not right leg's not stronger than their left leg or past a certain percentage, and then we'll tag them as well. So if we have some athletes that might be low in force, those are typically my flyers, which are tiny little individuals, and we try to add a little bit more hamstring work for them versus some of them might be past injuries. I have an athlete that came in, had already repaired an ACL, and she had a huge deficiency. So we're trying to work on that hamstring on the leg of the injured leg that she came in with. And so she'll be tagged with like an extra right set of hamstring or extra left set of hamstring, depending on where it is. Hopefully trying to balance those out through the weight room, balancing them out efficiently so they're not going to be at a risk for injury.
Sure. So you could see towards the end of the workout, you could see a lot of different movements within the same team based on the tags, adjusting deficiencies.
Right. And then also for my athletes too. So just in a cheer team, we have my guys and bases, which typically train around the same workout. So they'll have similar workouts. I have back spots that are very similar to the on the female all-girl team. Back spots, you'll see different trends in them because they use both arms versus the bases will use one arm, one leg, depending on what side of the stunt they're on. And then their guys and them are similar workouts. And then I also have my flyers, which are the tiny ones, the little ones that are getting floated in the air. But even with you have different ones that are the middle tier of them, and they'll have different deficiencies than say the tippy top ones have different dependence. So it really kind of looks different. And then you throw dance in there, and they've all trained so similarly that their one hamstring on pretty much 75% of the team is weaker than their right one is weaker than their left. And it's typically the one that they're not turning on. And so whichever leg they're not turning on is weaker even if they're right or left-handed. You'll see it across the board. So most of my team is on one side or the other.
And are you on the floor with them by yourself, or you have?
So I am lucky enough to we have 30 interns for our whole staff.
Oh, wow.
So
you're not by yourself.
No, I am not by myself. We have 30 interns across. We have 15 strength coaches on staff. There's 30 of us, and then depending on, we can only take UA students. We're not allowed to take outside students. And so our pool comes from mostly kinesiology students, internship programs. We have a huge kinesiology program here. And so we're able to utilize those interns. Some are wanting to be strength coaches. We have some that want to be physical therapists. We have a couple that actually want to be professors, but they want to do research in athletic performance. And so we have a little bit of everything. We also have a sports science staff as well that are also strength coaches. And we have some interns that specifically work with our sports science staff, helping set up tests.
UA students as well as sports science interns have to be.
It's all UA. They're all UA students.
And no GAs?
We don't have any paid GAs. We have some grad level interns, but we don't have any GAs.
Is that kind of, I don't know, NCAA legislation, is that kind of a thing of the past, having?
I really don't know. I really hope not, because I think that's where most of the interns actually go from intern to like coach, because I feel like you get that transition in that GA spot. We've never had them, as far as I know. We've had some like student workers, but in the past 20 years, we've never had a graduate assistant.
Huh. Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's some schools. I know some, typically it's the bigger schools. So I know like Alabama, A&M, like they don't have GAs, but A&M has fellows, or like a fellowship.
Okay.
And it's like a paid year kind of fellowship.
Okay.
There's some of the bigger schools will have that kind of position where it's like that coach that doesn't need to be in school, so they don't have to pay for school, but it's like a year-long deal.
Yeah.
We do not have any of those.
Huh. That's,
So
yeah.
probably 90% of our interns currently are all undergrad, mostly juniors and seniors.
It's crazy. Same business, but a different world.
Yes.
That we're living in. No, that's great. I didn't know that. It's, I don't think we've spoken with anyone really that has GAs per se, that seems to do more like a Division II, Division III kind of position. Blake, sorry again.
It's all good. So moving away from the cheer talk to a little bit of a personal question for you. What is your why? Like, why do you come to work? Why do you train your athletes like you do? You know, what's that why?
Okay, my why is the athlete. I love the 18 to like 23, 24-year-old. Like, I think that is the biggest developmental growth, maturity, everything within it. The process that the athlete, luckily, I love sports, so I found my area to really put my hand, like help those athletes. The growth, even in my new freshmen that just started, just the growth in the last 9 weeks is huge. The maturity from day 1 to week 9 is that I love that growth. I love helping and being there for those athletes when they get something that they've been struggling with, and let's just say squat depth. We've struggled with some squat depth this year with some of my athletes, and they finally get it, and it's like a big celebration. They're not squatting a lot, but it's a big celebration because we've worked on that depth, and she's finally getting it. And she's like, I actually got to go up to 120 pounds today because I had good squat depth. So it was like a big celebration. Or seeing those athletes that really just don't care about the weight room, but you see them thriving a little bit more every single day they come in here, and maybe not loving the weight room, but by the end of the year or the end of their 4 years, they really like respect what they did in the weight room. So that's kind of my why. And then also just being an athlete, there's not many females in our strength conditioning roles. There are more than when I started, but seeing someone on staff, I'm the only female on staff of 15 guys, and they're able to see me and know that they can be at a top level university, they can have a family, they can have roles outside of work, but they can still do a great job at work. Like, that is my why.
See, you could tell me your passion. You lit up. You flipped the switch. You're excited to talk about it. That was awesome.
That is one of my favorite questions because, like, I love it.
Yeah, it's more fun than, like, sets, reps.
That's fun. Like, obviously, we got into it because I love the weight room. Like, that's why I got into it, but that's not why I do it.
Yeah, they're not just a quadricep or an imbalance on the right side. They're in the toughest part maybe of their lives, being away from home, and you're kind of a parent in many aspects because you spend more time with them certainly than their parents do now that they don't live with them anymore. It does make it fun. Makes it a lot. And it keeps us young too.
Yes. I forget sometimes how long I've been here. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not the same age as these kids anymore. But I'm reminded real quick when I don't know any of what they're talking about. So we're good.
Constant reminders. That was a good one. Blake?
So my final question, I'm in crunch time studying for my CSCS.
Yes.
I have it in 2 weeks. So what is any tips for studying?
Study the graphs and charts.
Okay.
Study the graphs and charts. Like, look at them. Don't know the vocabulary, but like know the vocabulary related to those charts and graphs, because that's what's going to answer the questions. And study. And keep studying and study some more.
It is crunch time, that's for sure.
And also remember, so like studying for that, it's not what you've learned at, let's say, per se, in the real world. It's definitely the book. Like, learn the foundations of what it means, not necessarily what I may do as a strength coach or like whatever. Like, it needs to be from the book.
Yes, ma'am. I have struggled with that some.
Okay.
That is the first thing he told me when I started studying was the disconnect. Because it's really hard.
It's a foundation. It's not everything.
Yeah, I took it in 98. And
I took mine in 2002. So close.
I took it again 2 years ago because I'm curious, and it was much, much harder because I had the 20-something years of real-world experience. So it was hard to shift gears and say, what do they want to know? Not maybe what really works in the real world. It was much more down the road. And I think their advantage is they're taking those classes. They're in the routine of the academic world. The further you get from it, it gets a lot more difficult.
Well, I was going to say, you're braver than me because I have zero desire to study for it again.
Well, I just kind of wanted to know what are they experiencing. And now I don't have any tips because my brain was numb at the end. And I'm just like, let's get it over with. I have no doubt that Blake will pass it with flying colors. No pressure, Blake.
I expect a report.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. All right, Brock.
Now we're going to transfer over to more of the softball side.
Okay.
So you just said you guys are kind of in fall break now. What does that look for the softball team? Are you guys starting to go more of the getting ready off-season prep in the weight room, or are you guys still doing your fall ball like regular?
Okay, so when we start back next week, it'll be week 11. So this was technically week 10 of everybody's like training plans. And the only thing that changes in my training and my goals over fall ball is we go from 2 days a week or 3 days a week lifting to 2 days a week lifting. And so, but my focus really doesn't change. Like we also did a 3-rep max bench, like with softball. They did a 3-rep max this week. And then our squats were at 4 for like 80 something percent. And I'll start working 3s, 2s, and 1s coming back in November. Our last week of training is that right before Thanksgiving break, and then they go on their dead period where it can't be mandatory or anything like that during dead week or finals week, and then they send them home. So right now, my focus, the high end of focus is for me, we're doing sprint work on Mondays, and then our big lift is our squats. Wednesdays is our bench press day with some more like med ball and more plyometrics on Wednesdays. Fridays is more of a repetition day. So we have a little bit like, I'll probably go back to my push-ups, pull-ups. I don't do a lot of conditioning, but on Fridays, the last 15 minutes of every workout, it's like a farmer carry, sled push, metabolic-ish type training. And when I say we're lifting 3 days a week, I get an hour and a half with them every lift. So like I'm able to get a good warm up, sprint, plyos, jump ropes, whatever our quick something is. We get a full lower body, full upper body, and then some type of accessory at the end. I'm not really crunched for time. I don't, like I said, and then on Fridays, that's kind of my more repetition day. So that's going to be my higher volume because they have we lift at 6 a.m. So 6 a.m. on Friday, and then they don't have to come see me again until Monday. So they almost have 3 full days of recovery between their time seeing me.
That's nice. Are you Olympic lifting with them at all, or is that?
I do not Olympic lift with softball. Not that I'm against Olympic lifting. I don't want that to be out there. It is definitely over my first 10 years, I was Olympic lifting them. I was seeing more of the athletes coming in with past injuries, shoulder, those types of things. And so I steered away from more of the catch portions of the Olympic lifts. We will do clean pulls. We will do different variations of like med ball throws, but I tend to do more. We have the 1080 sprints and the 1080 quantums. And so we're able to do a lot of resisted sprints, resisted jumping. And so I've done more of that versus the Olympic lifting with my softball athletes, just because of the overuse in the shoulder. And most of them are already coming in with 2 or 3 injuries before they even get to the college.
Yeah, exactly. So that takes me into the next question is that, so being Alabama, you guys are getting transfers here and there. Are you training the transfers the same as your freshmen, or are you kind of keeping them on the same plan and just knowing these girls are older, you know, they're coming in, they might only be there for a year, but you're just trying to keep it all together as one?
So depending on the athlete, so like this year we had 2 athletes transfer in that are phenomenal athletes. One's a sophomore, one's a junior. They're phenomenal athletes just overall. One of the girls, one of the schools she was at, she never really back squatted. I do a lot of back squat. And so we kind of had to start over with that. But she had bench pressed before, or she had done different things. I start the whole team at 0 week 1 anyway. So like everybody is on, let's just get back into the weight room. And then we kind of progress from there to see where everybody is. And then I'll kind of like place them into different groups depending. So yes and no, like I'm starting them back at 0, but I'm also starting my returners that I've had for 3 years back at 0, just to make sure they actually did something over summer and we're not just jumping right in and they're not ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. You say you still have an hour and a half with them. Does that change when you go in season 2, when you go to 2 days a week?
So when we go into in season, so during fall ball, we would have 1 individual day. And so that wouldn't count. It counts different in the hours. We would have an hour and a half. On the full team practice, I would have an hour 15. And so I'd have those 2. So I'd still end up having almost 3 hours worth with them for those 2 days. My volume goes down a little bit. I add a little bit more recovery at the end of the lift versus higher rep accessories, and then I don't sprint them as much during fall ball. So like instead of we were doing 6 resisted sprints going into fall ball, we were doing 3. So we're still getting those sprints, we're still getting that work in, but we're not doing as much volume during that time. And I added more accessory work, as in like glute bridges, or like just more low intensity, more prehab exercises as part of the in-season lift. When we get to spring, I'll have 2 days a week, an hour. And so I'll get them for 2 hours a week, depending on what our game schedule looks like. Typically, we're going to lift Tuesday, Thursday, no matter what, unless we're playing a big, like, out of conference game on Wednesday or Tuesday. Then we'll kind of switch it up a little bit, or we're having to travel a day a little bit earlier due to either we might have the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series versus the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Does that come into conflict? Would you be the one to reach out to another school and asking if they're allowed to get your guys' workout in their facility, or do you kind of modify it?
I really just offer open lift times in the hotel. And we just kind of do some dumbbells. My ones that really want to lift are the ones that are going to be coming in. The ones that really don't want to lift, they'll go see the athletic trainer for recovery. Pretty much how it is. I've got about half and half.
Yeah, that's how it always is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, like a few more softball coaches. Do you train as one unit, one team? Every player in there at the same time?
Yeah, so during off season, we're all there at the same time. During the season, I'll set up different groups. So I'll have a 6 a.m. group, a 7:30 group, and a 9 o'clock group. Usually it's my 9 o'clock group is my seniors that only have online classes or something like that. My 6 a.m. are usually either my early risers that want to just get it over with, or the ones that have class all morning. During that time, like it's me, and then pretty much from 6 a.m. to about noon, I'm coaching teams. But like I said, we have interns right now. I have 9 interns that help me across all my different sports. So like 9 of the 30, some are just assigned cheer and dance, and some come to golf, or I also have the mascot. So Big Al also trains. And so I have Big Al that comes in, and have women's golf that comes in, and then softball. And so we're just kind of, it's moving parts with all my interns as well, like just setting up, taking down. If I have softball in here at the one time and same time as one of my cheer groups, it's usually a smaller group, I'll have them all warm up together. Like everybody does the same warm up, and then we'll split them up into groups, and I'm kind of floating between the two. And I usually give my grad students or my senior level interns that have been working with me, and they kind of take the groups, and then I'm coaching all of them.
And then, so if based on those times, it would always be a pre-practice.
I have everyone pre-practice.
Okay.
That is, I've also been blessed to have the exact same sports for all 20 years. So I've always worked cheer and dance. I've always worked softball, and I've always worked women's golf. And all 3 of those coaches are also the same head coaches. So I've been able to like make my schedule and their schedule one. Like it's not their schedule and then I'm trying to fit it everywhere else. We're like, I want to lift here, here, and here. And they're like, okay, we'll practice here, here, here.
Well, kudos to you. That's
it's
pretty
a
awesome.
very big blessing. It's like huge. So I train teams from 6 a.m. until noon. And then I'm also out at the softball field. So I do go out to the softball field and help it practice.
If I saw the softball team training, would it be similar to cheer and dance? There's tags based on the data that you have, and towards the end, versus it's not a catcher, pitcher, position player. It's a specific individual need.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do a little bit of pitcher differences. But like I go to practice and work specifically with the pitcher. So when we're in the weight room, they're lifting with everybody else. So like they're back squatting, they're bench pressing. I use a neutral grip, the football neutral grip, the multiple handled bar. For my pitchers, just to get them out of that, like, so they don't get too wide, I use a neutral grip from them for a close grip. But really, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's different between my lift of my pitchers and my position players or my hitters. During season, I'll switch it up a little bit. I actually will only dumbbell with the pitchers up until about mid SEC. About the middle of the SEC play, I take bench completely out and we do an extra back. Just because they're throwing so much by that point in the season that it's just, for me, we'll hit chest by getting some plank work in, some stability work, and then we'll just hit more back to hopefully prevent some of those overuse injuries.
Do you ever give them choices, especially if they're a grizzled veteran and you're like, hey, you can back squat, you can safety bar squat, you can belt squat?
I do, actually. Like towards the end, like SEC play, I start going, okay, well, you can do, I have some that hate squats and I have some that love deadlifts and vice versa. And so I'll be like, okay, today's our heavy day. You can back squat or you can deadlift.
But early on,
everybody's doing the same thing. Not the same thing, but relative to them, like our big lifts are, everyone's the same.
They kind of have to earn those choices
Yeah.
and learn all.
You have to learn how to do all of them. You can't just avoid one because you don't like it.
Yeah. Game day lifts, are you a fan?
I think they're individual. I think that some people, it's more mental. Like I have one athlete right now that actually wants to be a strength coach. So she's in the weight room all the time. So she comes in, she gets a game day lift in, and she feels great. I have some that if I made them come in on a game day, you would have thought that I had put them through a military combat for 6 weeks. So it's I kind of let them decide. We will during midweek games, so Tuesdays or Thursdays, if we have, a smaller Division I school, and it's more for like our second, third string pitchers, those types of things, we will lift full day. Like we will get a full lift on that game day. But most of the time I'll probably have 6 that come in and do, of the 21, do like a full game day lift. And I have some that come in and just want to walk and do yoga and stretch and do some like band work. So like they're in the weight room, but on like Fridays and Saturdays when we're on the road, that's what I'm saying. Like most of the time I just take them to the hotel one because that's what they all want to do anyways.
Yeah. I don't want to mess with someone's game day mojo. That's part of the preparation. It's so much mental, and I don't want to throw them off.
And that's kind of like, I don't make anything mandatory for it. It's more like I offer open lift across the board. So every day I offer open lift for any of my athletes. So if cheer's lifting on Monday, Wednesday, I offer open lift from 6 a.m. until 8:30, and they can come in and do what they want to work on. And it's kind of on game days, I'll have open lifts from like, I typically don't do it at 6. I'll do like 7:30 in the morning until like 11. And those athletes just text me and let me know they're coming in, and they'll get a lift in or they'll get the recovery in. It's not mandatory. It's completely voluntary. It's just open lift opportunity for you to come in and get a workout in.
Yeah. That makes me feel better. That's the approach I kind of take as well. And some one team, I don't think anyone's done it. The other team in baseball has done it. So softball doesn't seem as excited about those games.
No. Like I said, I've got a couple, but I don't have a lot.
All right, Kaiser.
All right, Coach. So my question is kind of going back in time a little bit. So
Okay.
if you go back to, I guess, kind of in our position as interns and GAs, like your undergrad, senior, or your post undergrad, maybe GA and everything. If you could sit in front of yourself, what would you say or tell yourself to focus on more? Or
I don't know about focusing on more, but I know for a fact that my weak area is sprint technique and sprint development, because I focused all my time on the strength conditioning, the weight room, the conditioning, those types of things. I wish I would have either spoken or shadowed a sprint coach. And just learned and taken, I didn't run track. And so I don't even have that as like a base of what that type of practice or development would have looked like. And I really wish I would have like taken that time to like reach out to either my high school strength coach, or we didn't have a strength coach back then, my high school track coach, or the track coach at where I went to grad school at Texas A&M, reached out to them just to see if I could shadow or learn or just pick their brain. Because I know like over those years, like I'm still like, that would be my weak point. Like I know the basics, but I know the basics. Like I don't know the next steps. Like what do I need to do to be better at it?
Okay, well, thank you. I've got another one that's kind of somewhat similar.
Okay.
I guess, but you can kind of look at your whole career, I guess. If maybe you failed in some areas or you've fallen short in some spots, what were those things that you might have failed or fallen short in, and how did you pull yourself out of that, or what helped you out of those moments?
So obviously being an older coach, my knowledge of sports science is not where even like my strength coaches that are on staff that are like 4 or 5 years in to their careers, the sports science and utilizing that data that is collected. I wish when it first came out, I'd spent more time really absorbing into that data and taking the opportunity of that. Now I feel like I'm always trying to play catch up on the sports data, the lingo, the sports science. Like I'm always trying to be up to date on that, but also not completely dwell on that, because I feel like old school strength conditioning is old school strength conditioning. And if you get too much into the sports science, you're down in the weeds. And so I finding that fine line, but then also I didn't get my PhD because I don't like statistics. And I feel like that's what you have to like do. And I don't really enjoy it. And so making myself research and pull those numbers up and try to figure out what all of them means without having to do statistics is not fun to me.
How does that work with the sports science department? Do y'all meet? Are they in the workouts there with you? I don't.
So we actually we have 2 titled sports science coaches. One is our director, but he's also a football strength coach. And so he's one of our 5 football strength conditioning coaches. And then our soccer strength conditioning coach is also, he's the Olympic sports science coordinator. So I work specifically with him for all of our sports data, pulling the tags. He has a whole system set up on his computer. Once we get the NordBoard, the Vault, we also have a leak form on our platforms, taking that data, and then we sit down and look at all the data, and he pulls out what I want to see and all that kind of stuff. So like the tags, like he's helping me, and then my interns, so that he's not having to do everything. He teaches the interns how to do that for cheer, and so that's 100 athletes he's not having to deal with. And so he pulls like softballs, the baseballs, those types of things, and helps that. But like I said, I'm like, other than Coach Ballou and Zach, our sports science director, we're the older ones on staff. Everybody else has a better knowledge of that. And so they're able to pull off like the data that Derek's putting together. They're able to do a bunch of it for themselves, and I'm not. And so, but I also kind of like having somebody that does it for me. So that's also the benefit of having longevity on the staff. And then we'll kind of talk. We meet, our offices are right next to each other. And so we're all in the same facility. So no matter, even if they're not next door, Zach's across the cardio area for me, and everybody else is downstairs. And so we're able to like all meet and like individually, or just kind of discuss and talk about different things that we're reading or we're talking about, or if I see something that maybe wasn't tagged, but why wouldn't it be tagged if I know that they're struggling with this, those types of things.
I'm aging myself. what do you have on your platforms? Link or I
Uh,
don't even.
We have a leaked form on our
Oh, the camera.
the
system.
cameras and
Okay.
which I know how to do all of that. The back end of all the data is what I struggle sometimes putting together.
So it's
So
a good.
yes, the sports science is what I wish I'd spent more time earlier on figuring out.
And it's, I guess y'all have a good relationship and it's just working together and.
We're one staff, and so we don't have an Olympic versus football like staff. Coach David Blue is our director. I'm the associate director, but we're all in the same facility. We have one giant weight room. There's 15 of us in this weight room with offices. The only ones that don't share our facility, men's basketball has their own facility, but he's still part of our staff and we still work together with him. And then women's basketball also has a small weight room that they utilize, but everybody else is housed out of our main weight room.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
One big happy.
Yeah,
crazy
and it's
happy-
great. Like this staff, like I definitely wanted the staff we have now is super intelligent, great guys, and we all work really well together.
Man, that's awesome.
No, it's a very big blessing to be able to have that opportunity.
And that's probably why you've been there so long.
Exactly. It's great.
Because in this profession, that's not the norm. You're
No.
usually kind of nomadic, which segues into kind of getting in the profession. We've had some coaches that said, hey, you know, it's all who you know, and they already know when a spot comes open, who they're going to hire. We've had a lot of talk about reference calls. You know, I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call. And then we haven't asked anybody, well, if you're going to make a reference call, you probably got a resume at some point. Is there anything that could make a resume or a cover letter possibly stand out?
For me, when hiring, and I don't know if I want to say this out loud or not.
Go ahead. You already know who you're going to hire.
Yeah. It's not that I even know who I want to hire. It's I typically tend to be impressed with the athletes that have played a collegiate sport on top of being able to manage internships and those types of things, just because they know what it is to be in the athlete's shoes. But that's not necessarily my number one thing is, and you can't do this on a resume, but is presence. The ability to take up space and be present in the room that you're in. And if you walk on that floor, I better know you're a coach. So like that's kind of like, but that comes from reaching out to people I know, those types of things.
Yeah. And then do you give your interns an opportunity to be on the floor and coach so that you would know out of those 30 every year, you're like, hey, this is the best one. I'm going to get on the phone and say,
Right.
hey, I got one you need to hire. They're awesome.
Well, and that's one thing, like with the field, especially being in this, I have lots of connections and all that, or they'll call me and be like, hey, do you have an intern this year? We're looking for somebody that has knowledge of softball. And I'm like, yeah, she's now at Southeast Louisiana. So like those types of things. So, or like ULM or whatever it may be. And so, so we have 30, we have an intern coordinator that does all the curriculum, the assigning, and then all of us have our specific ones. So I have 9 that work specifically with me, and they may have other sports that coaches they help, but I'll have monthly meetings with all individual, not monthly meetings with every single one of them. So like in September, it was like, hey, what are your goals? What are you going to do this semester? And they have to pick one thing that they're going to work on. Well, then in our October meeting, I was like, okay, well, have you done this? What does it look like? Show me. If it's like one of them's goal was to make us an exercise library. Perfect. Let me see it. One of them was to take responsibility of timing something or stepping up to lead a warm up once a week because she's really shy. And I was like, okay, perfect. And so I was like, how have you been doing? She goes, I've actually been specifically focused on that. So working on those things. My last round of meetings that I had with all of them, it was, you're doing a great job. Now we need to work on that presence. Now we need to work on being able to step on that floor and taking charge, taking ownership. So we're working on those things on a daily basis with them. So hopefully when I get a call that says, hey, Michelle, I need entry level, who do you have? I can be like, okay, I have XYZ, they're ready to go. Or I have XYZ, they need a little bit more time. They may need more guidance, but they're smart. They'll catch on. Those types of things.
Because if you're not completely honest, they'll never ask you again if you give them a dog. Oh, they're
Right.
great, and then they weren't ready, then they're never calling you again.
Right, exactly.
You're a master strength coach. You're on the board. For the people in here, this could be a promotion. Why do they need to be members of the CSCCA, and why would they need to attend the clinic in Fort Worth this summer? What would they get from that?
So one, obviously that is my organization. That is our organization. It is made and built for strength conditioning coaches. It started as collegiate, but now it's branching into professional, high school, those types of areas. And that's where I got my start. My very first conference I ever attended was in 2004 in Salt Lake City, Utah. I networked, I built relationships. Some of the people that I built relationships and I talked to is the reason I'm sitting in the seat still today. And it's the connection and the network that brings everybody together because we're all living that like world. We're all maybe at different facilities, but we're all living that strength conditioning life. Our hours aren't normal.
No.
Our lives aren't normal. Like it just is what it is. And so one thing that I knew that I wanted to do was to be a lifetime member. And I've bumped my way in. I was just got my SCCC right at that next year. I got this job, run the connections I built. And that's how you build your network. If you're not going to those conferences, especially the one in Fort Worth, that's always our most attended one because it is a great location. It is full of great people. Obviously, the state of Texas has a ton of schools and a ton of sports. And that is a great central location. And you will meet people from all over the U.S. in that one central location. I can't, like, obviously, I'm from Abilene. So I don't know if y'all knew that or not, but I'm from Abilene. I grew up, went to high school there. My in-laws, mother-in-law, everybody, my parents still live there. So growing up in Abilene and being able to be in the CSCCA where there's so many different people and so many different venues and areas that you can grow from. And it's just, it makes my heart happy when every year I get so excited to go to the CSCCA conference because it's like people. When I got my master's jacket, my husband, I actually got it when we were in Fort Worth one year so my family and stuff could come, but my husband came with me and he goes, okay, so these people are all like you. Okay, you're not the only one. I'm like, no, I'm not.
It does feel good to know there's people that consume maybe as much caffeine, wake up as early, and
Exactly.
love their job, and some people just can't understand it.
Exactly.
Well, I'll plan on being there. I might have to arm wrestle my AD for budget money, but I might sneak in or try to get in with the vendor and be like, hey, Dynamic, I've done
Right.
2 weight rooms with you. Hook me up, Yox, and get me in there. Rapid fire questions to finish. Recommended book. Is there a book we should be reading that you got a lot from?
Okay, where is it at? Periodization for Sport, and it's by Tudor Bumpa.
Ah, that's an OG there.
Yeah,
That's
it's my favorite book. I've got like 3 or 4 different editions to it, and they're all falling apart. I feel like it is just the best overall book that you can read about sport development.
And it's been a while. Do you feel conflicted that you're somewhat conjugate and you're reading Tudor Bumpa's text?
But I think it's similar because if you think about it, there's force, there's strength, and there's endurance. And all you have to do is place them in different areas and you're still working the athlete, which is the athlete. You're not working the softball. You're You're just working different portions to depend on what sport you're working. So my softball lift may look just like the cheer lift, but the percentages, what we're doing and how we're doing it are all going to be different.
That's a great answer. You could be a politician if strength and conditioning.
I do not want that job, that's for sure.
A recommended podcast besides the one you're currently on. Is there another one you like?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't listen to strength and conditioning podcasts often, but I have listened to y'all. So y'all's is my favorite. I'm definitely a Disney planning. If I'm listening to a podcast, I'm listening to a Disney planning one. So
Okay. Awesome. Is there a certification or class you've taken that you'd recommend? RPR, functional range conditioning, square one, anything that you've supplemented the big ones with that you like, that was a really good course.
well, here's a good plug. You need to take the CSCCA,
Of course.
strength conditioning, the SCCC certification. It is the one that prepares you the most for being a strength coach. It gives you that applied and also the book educational portion of it and making sure you know your stuff. So there's my plug for the CSCCA's SCCC. Actually, the other one is I'm TPI certified. It's a little bit more on the pricier side, but I feel like the golf approach of looking at different things, maybe not the golf swing specific, but I'm also level 1 and level 2 or fitness level 2. And so it kind of puts a different spin on how to train, but it also looks at more of those fine tuning of that specific. If you're training a softball pitcher that's 18 years old, it can kind of really break down. And if you're some more individual versus group training. And so it kind of like maybe think about different ways to approach the individual athletes along with that, the knowledge of the overall like team approach as well.
That's not the first time I've heard someone mention TPI. I haven't ever taken it, but that's.
Well, my golf, I never played golf, so they recommended I take it so I would actually know what I'm talking about when I'm talking to the athletes, but it ended up being one of my favorites. It's also one of my favorite websites to frequent with videos and things like that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. Let's say it's at this clinic this summer. If there's one speaker that you could hear present, who would that be?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
And if it puts you in a bind, you don't have to answer, because then if you, like you say, one person that's, oh, hey, I'm pretty
Right.
good.
And I'm going to say this, if I could get one speaker to come back and speak to me again, it's my mentor. She is retired from the field now, but if I could listen to her again, just talk, Rachel Ellsworth is an amazing, intelligent individual. She mentored me, and I would love to hear her speak again on just a career of what and how she was able to do all of it.
She's a trailblazer.
Yeah, she is an amazing person, and I would love to have her come back and speak. And she'll probably shoot me if she hears this, because she does not want to probably come back and speak.
And you GA'd at A&M? Is that?
So I was not technically a GA, but I did my master's work at Texas A&M under Ray.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Last one, what do you miss most about Abilene?
My family.
Of course.
But I get to visit it enough. I don't miss it too much. But then I also I do miss Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
And Alfredo specifically, which is right down the street from y'all. If y'all have never eaten there, it's called Alfredo's. It's on South 14th Street.
Never
It's
eaten.
a little hole in the wall. It's literally right down the street from y'all. It looks like a little hole in the wall. You're not going to want to eat there, but it is delicious.
Alfredo.
So every time I go to Abilene, I get it at least 2 to 3 times.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I was gonna go with La Pop, breakfast tacos, or but now I've written down TPI and Alfredo's, 2 things I need to do. Look
Yeah,
into
no, it's
it.
my favorite. It's my favorite place. Like as soon as I walk in the door, my mom's like, Alfredo's for lunch. And I'm like, yep.
That's great. And invitation's still open anytime you're in town. You want to work out, you want to train, you're more than welcome to come by. We'd love to have you. And we appreciate your time and your insight. That was a wonderful conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to, unfortunately, hopefully y'all have the time off when I'm actually coming in. I'll be in December 20th.
I'll probably, yeah, oh yeah, that's my wife's birthday too, so I'll be busy. But thanks again, Coach. That was awesome.
Thank you. It was nice to meet y'all. Let me know if y'all have any questions.
All right, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.